Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Famicom Disc System, brought to us by Nintendo. Super Mario Bros. 2 is actually a direct sequel to the original Super Mario Bros. It was only released in Japan until years later when Super Mario All-Stars came out, where the North American audience finally got to experience it as Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. Nintendo of America deemed the game too difficult for North American audiences, as well as repetitive and too similar to the original Mario Bros. So Nintendo of America passed on the game and instead converted a prototype known as Doki Doki Panic into Super Mario Bros. 2 that we all know in North America. While the game is almost completely identical to the original Super Mario Bros., they did add some new gameplay mechanics as well as update the graphics a little bit. So here we go with Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Famicom Disc System. Being a Famicom Disc System game, there actually is loading in the game, though it won't be significant once the game actually boots up. At the startup screen you have Super Mario Bros. 2 copyright Nintendo 1986, and then you can select either Mario or Luigi, and we'll be playing as Luigi in this run. There is no two-player option, unfortunately. In these first set of blocks, instead of finding a power-up mushroom, we instead find a poison mushroom. This will end up doing damage to you, killing you instantly if you're small, or shrinking you down if you're large. Kind of a dirty trick to immediately start you with one of those poison mushrooms, especially considering they weren't in the original Mario Bros. Located here in these set of blocks next to the piranha plant, we find our first actual power-up mushroom. All the little graphical touches to the backgrounds and all definitely brighten up the game a bit and make it a little bit more exciting to look at than the original Mario Bros. At the end of each level, just like the first game, you end up getting to a flagpole, bring the flag down, and you move on to the next level of the game. Since the game is a direct sequel, they pretty much assumed you would have already mastered the controls from the original Mario Bros., so they really don't cut you any slack right away. As you can see, you'll have to pretty much know the controls and figure out all the jumping, as you pretty much get thrown right into the fire pit, having some really tough and difficult jumps to make very early on. Just like the original Super Mario Bros., there are lots of warp zones in the game, a lot more than actually the original. However, the warp zones are actually different in this one, having some of them lead you not only forward, but you actually have a few that will lead you backwards, having you have to redo some levels. For example, the warp that's located right near the exit of level 1-2 will actually only jump you to world number 2. You won't have the choice of going to 3 different pipes. In 1-3 you have some tricky platforming on some small platforms, as well as you actually have some flying bloopers right away. After completing the stage, we move on to 1-4, the first Bowser Castle of the game. And thankfully, it starts off relatively easily. Be careful jumping over the first few platforms, and be sure to grab the question mark block so you can get yourself a power-up. In our case, since we were already big, we move up into the fire form. I always loved it that no matter who you were, Mario or Luigi, they both looked the same when they turned into the Fire Flower version. Do your best to dodge the fireballs in this small little corridor, and then do a big jump over Bowser himself in order to hit the axe on the other side and destroying the bridge, getting rid of the first Bowser. Just like the first Mario Bros., when you get to the end of a castle, you have your thank you, which in this case, thank you Luigi, but our princess is in another castle. We all hated it in the first Mario Bros., but they decided to bring that right back in the second one. We then move on to level 2-1, as you can see is the first night world of Mario 2. You can also see the level has some water, and just like Mario 1, you won't be able to swim in the water on these types of levels. Unless you're in an actual underwater stage, you won't be able to swim. The springs do exactly like they did in the original Mario Bros. Timing your hit on, you can end up sending Mario flying into the air for a long period of time. Doing so will allow you to bypass a large part of the screen. Just be very careful that when you're doing that you don't accidentally come down and land directly on an enemy, or in the way of an enemy's fire, or of course even worse, a pit. Really, the key for Mario 2, just like 1, is figuring out the jumps, how much distance you're going to need, the momentum that's going to take in order to get over those jumps, and then timing those jumps correctly. Right here, be sure to find the hidden block and then jump up to the Piranha Plant's pipe in the top, so that you don't have to try to make that really long jump. Watch out for the Goombas here, and then grab the flagpole to move on to 2-3. 2-3 is the first bridge level of the game. These bridge levels consist of course, long bridges. But more so, they also have flying Cheep-Cheeps, and these can get quite annoying pretty fast. My key for most of them, though, is just outrun them as fast as possible. Keep running the whole time, doing the jumps accordingly as I need to, and avoid most of the Cheep-Cheeps as they come up. When I make it to the flag at the end, though, it's time for the second castle of the game. The second castle is a little bit different than the first one. Be careful here, drop down, and be sure to be hugging the right wall, so that when you fall down, you'll be able to make it to the platform below. Do a long jump over the rotating fireball, and when you make it here, just keep running along the main path so that you can try to get past all the rotating flames. Over here, watch out for Bowser once again, jumping over his head and hitting the axe, and complete 2-4. 3-1 introduces us to the most hated enemy from the original Mario Brothers, and that being the Hammer Brothers. Run along the bottom here and be sure to hit that block so you can get yourself a star. Then use that invincibility for the brief time you have it and run through as many enemies as possible. When your invincibility runs out, be careful and watch out for the bullet bills that are going to be waiting for you. Then jump along these pipes and get yourself to this spring. You can use the spring if you like in order to actually propel yourself all the way over to the flagpole. (3-2) is our first underwater level of the game, and since it's a fully underwater level, we actually can swim during this. Be very careful, because swimming is a little bit weird if you've never played Mario before, as it'll actually kind of force you down. You have to keep mashing the button in order to keep swimming. Do your best to avoid the Cheep-Cheeps as well as especially the bloopers in tight areas as they move along in a little bit of a sporadic pattern coming towards you. In big open gap areas like that, the water's trying to suck you down, so be sure to mash the button quickly so you can stay afloat. Avoid this last Cheep-Cheep and then go through the pipe, which will take you right to the staircase and the flagpole for 3-2. The next level is a snow-covered platform level, but don't worry, there really isn't any difference to the platforms. You're not going to be slipping and sliding everywhere when moving around. Another thing different to Mario 2 than was in original Mario Brothers is the fact that Mario and Luigi actually control different for the first time in the series. Luigi actually can jump a little bit higher and he falls a little bit slower, so this can change up your strategy a little bit when going through the levels. In Castle 3-4, you'll have to choose the right path to take. Start off by running down here, run past the Piranha Plant, and then choose the bottom path in order to go through. When you make it here, jump onto the Piranha Plant and then jump up to the top platform. When you fall down, hit this block a few times so you make some other blocks, and then do a running jump to the top. Once do so, jump up to the top platform avoiding the rotating fireballs, and eventually you'll come to the bridge with Bowser, jump over him, defeat him, and move on to 4-1. Be careful and time your jump correctly so you can use the spring to get over the giant pool. Then run up these stairs and watch out for the Lakitu as he's going to be throwing our little friends down trying to hit us. After I'm able to take out the Lakitu with a fireball, just continue on the level, jump over the last Goomba, and hit the flag. Interesting to note as well, if you actually wait for the timer to go down to 0 and then touch the flag, you'll actually earn yourself a 1-up as well as a bunch of bonus points. The next level has some beetles as well as some bullet bills, so be very careful, as well as another Lakitu to deal with. And since he's high up and with not a lot of platforms to get up to him, you'll have to pretty much just outrun him during this part of the stage. About midway through, there's some Hammer Brothers that will appear. Thankfully, we have the Fire Flower if we need to take them out. If not, just try to wait for the right opportunity to try to get past them. Jump up here and watch out for the turtle, and then go and hit the flag. Or in my case, jump over the flag, in which case you can then see what happens when you do that. (4-3), another air-like level. Be very careful of all the platforms as they're moving back and forth, as well as the balanced ones. Here you'll have to make a long running jump to the Koopa Troopa over on the right side and bounce off of them to get to the next platform. Midway through the stage, bullet bills will start flying at you, so do your best to avoid them, and when you make it here, just be very careful while making these short jumps so you can make it over to the flag and make it to level 4-4. At the beginning of 4-4, watch out for the giant rotating flame at the very beginning, and then continue along these small hallways. There's a couple of the giant rotating flames, so you'll have to be careful and time your running correctly so you can avoid getting hit. When you make it over here, jump up to the platform when the rotating flame is on the opposite side. Then you may have to drop down before you're actually able to make it up to the platform above. Watch out for the Hammer Brothers, and then jump up here and run along the middle here, so that you can actually make it to the next section. Over here, watch out for the Bowser's flames that will try to come at you, and then you'll have your showdown with Bowser himself. We can use the Fire Flower here in order to take him out, in which case you actually find out that he was actually a Spiny during this fight, and then you can talk to Toad for the billionth time. Introduced also in Mario 2 is the red piranha plants instead of just the normal green ones. The only difference between them is the red ones will actually keep coming out of the pipes over and over again even if you're standing next to them. However, they won't come out of the pipe once again if you're just standing on it just like the green ones. And now time for really the final new thing added to Mario 2, and that's the wind. The wind will push and pull you depending upon what direction the leaves are going, so you'll have to do your jumps accordingly. You'll have to make some pretty big jumps here in order to make it across these steps, then run past all these Koopa Troopas. When you make it to the end, you'll have to find the hidden blocks in order to get above, so you actually can get to the flag on the opposite side. 5-2 is another one of the underground levels. Start off by jumping over the gaps, watching out for the piranha plants as well as the red Koopa Troopa. Just like in previous underground levels, if you want to go to a warp zone, you can go to the level 7 warp zone by going along the top here. But we're going to be skipping that instead, just going right down the normal pipe and hitting the normal flag. "5-3 is a really tough level pretty much. You have a lot of very small platforms and you have to use some enemies to bounce around so you can make it to other platforms. Jump up here and go down this pipe in order to find a secret area, but you'll need to find the secret area in order to warp to the later part of the level. Once you make it out here, watch out for the piranha plants and then watch out for the bullet bills and run along here. Wait for the right timing so you can make it to the small platform while watching out also for the blooper. Make a couple more quick jumps along these platforms, including the balance one, in order to hit to the flag, and make it to 5-4. In 5-4, watch out, stand on this platform and make a quick jump over to the right before it sinks all the way while also watching out for the jumping flames. Here I recommend doing a big jump up to the top platform so you don't have to try to make those really small platform jumps below. Continue running along the top as much as possible, watching out for all the flames, and eventually Bowser will start throwing his fireballs at you. Stay along here for 2 more of the rotating fireballs, and then get over here and jump up to this moving platform so you can get past Bowser and hit the axe. This level has a few Hammer Brothers in it as well, so be careful of them while making your way through. Hit the hidden block so you can make it to this giant pipe above, and then run underneath this Hammer Brother who's going to be on the small platform. Use your Fire Flower if you have it in order to take out the piranha plants, and then be careful because now you're going to have some wind trying to push you. Watch out for the few last piranha plants at the end and grab the flag. Next up is another underwater level, and just like the first time, be very careful of the bloopers as they move a little bit sporadically, as well as the Cheep-Cheeps that are going to try to come at you. The big thing, however, is of course mashing the button to swim while you're actually being pulled down by any big opening in the floor. After going through the pretty straightforward level, you'll come to the pipe, go through it and climb up the stairs and grab yourself the flag. Level 6-3 is another one of those very small platform levels, as well as it's a bridge level, so that means a lot of flying Cheep-Cheeps are going to be coming at you. My best strategy for these flying fish creatures has always really been to try to outrun them the best I can. The quicker I run through the stage, the less of them that can actually spawn. (6-4), another one of the castle levels. Be careful of your first little jump here to make it to the platform, and then make a long jump over to the platform on the right. Here you'll have to watch out for the giant rotating flame, run underneath of it, and do a sliding duck move in order to try to avoid it if you can. When you make it here, you'll have to climb all the way to the top and run along the top portion in order to make it to the next section. When you drop down here, be sure to drop down, watch out for the piranha plants, and then continue on. Be careful of rotating flames, and when you make it over here, be sure to go down to the very bottom platform, watching out for another giant rotating fire as you make your way over the lava. After a small corridor with some flames, you'll then meet up with Bowser himself. (7-1) is another one of the night levels, and there's a lot of wind gusting around here. Be careful, especially during this section, you don't get pulled down into the water, as well as you don't get hit by the Cheep-Cheeps that are flying around. What would a level be without some Hammer Brothers? Be very careful of them, then jump along the bullet bill here in order to get up to the flag on the right side. And the next level, be very careful, move along this raft, as you'll have to use this raft to get along most of the level here at the beginning. Just be very careful of any piranha plants or pipes, as well as the Koopa Troopas that are going to be moving up and down. Go through this pipe and you'll end up being in another section of the stage. Watch out for the low-flying Lakitu here, and then move along the rotating flame platforms. Unfortunately, the Lakitu will respawn, so just take out the other low-flying Lakitu and then continue on. Here you'll have to wait for the Koopa Troopa to get up into the air, or do a nicely timed running jump so you can make it to the platform in one big jump. Then you can make it over to the flag and move on to 7-3. (7-3) is a pretty weird and easy level. You have the green springs that'll launch you really high up into the air, as well as the wind. Just be very careful that you time it so that when you're going to come down from the spring, you don't land in the giant open gaps that are available, and you end up coming down near another spring. Repeat this over and over again until you're able to get to the end of the stage. Now it's time for the second to last castle of the game, as we have 7-4. Drop down this long walkway and then land on the platform below as it's moving back and forth. And try to do your best to get along these elevators, as you'll have 5 different ones of them before you make it to another solid platform. When you make it here, run along the top, watching out for the Koopa Troopas as you do so. Here you'll have another one of those rotating flames, but thankfully, since we're small already, we'll be able to avoid it if we stand in the corner. After that second one though, you'll have some flames coming at you from Bowser himself. Jump along the small platforms and then do a big jump in between his hammer throws in order to get to the axe. Now it's time for 8-1, technically the last world of the game. However, Mario 2 presents us with a special world if you're able to actually get to World 8 and get through it without using any of the warps, and that's the special 9th world. This level wouldn't be complete without some wind, so be careful of the wind and bounce along the Koopa Troopa so you can get over the gap. Here you have to do a big running jump and also time it so you can get on the Koopa Troopa so you can still make it over to the next side. Be very careful of all the piranha plants and jump over to the flag at the end. The level starts off with mainly just normal enemies, until eventually you'll come to some wind as well as some springs to deal with. Jump to the platform with the spring above, and then go over to the right side. Don't try to make it just from the spring all the way over to the right in one jump. When you make it here, wait for the Koopa Troopa to drop down. Then bounce off the Koopa Troopa's head and hit this block. That way you'll cause a beanstalk to appear, and you'll need this beanstalk in order to actually make it to the end of this level. That easily is one of the toughest things to do in the game. Once you make it up there though, you just have to jump over a big gap and get to the flag. Since we ended 8-2 on the clouds, we start 8-3 on the clouds, so you're going to have some Lakitus as well as some big gaps here. Just like 8-3 from the first Mario Brothers, there's a lot of Hammer Brothers in this stage as well, so be very careful while making your way through. For a nice little added bonus, you can hit this block and climb up the vine in order to get to a little special bonus area. Once you drop back down, be very careful while running through that you can avoid any more of the enemies. Use this spring in order to get onto the Koopa Troopa, and then battle it off with a couple more Hammer Brothers. When you make it to here, don't jump off to the edge as you won't be able to make the jump. Instead, make the hidden block appear, watch out for the poison mushroom, and then jump along the balance beams. Once you hit the flank, it's time for 8-4, the actual castle where Princess Peach is located. 8-4 is easily the hardest castle in the game, as it should be. Do a small backwards jump to the very bottom so you can make a running jump over to the far right. Once you do so, be very careful of the rotating flames here. You'll have to jump over this pipe to the left and go down that in order to continue on in the castle. Be very careful in this underwater segment as you'll have rotating flames as well as bloopers to come at you. When you make it to the end, you'll come out of this pipe. Be sure to run to the left here so you can find yourself a hidden mushroom so you can at least power yourself up a little bit. Then you'll have to do a very special jump in order to get down here to this pipe. Run through the area watching out for the rotating flame as well as the Koopa Troopas and Hammer Brothers that are there. Then run down a very, very long hallway. Once you do so, do a big running jump over to the right, find yourself another hidden mushroom, and go through the pipe. When you make it here, you have a fake Bowser that'll immediately attack you on this platform. Just jump over him and avoid him and continue on. After a couple more jumps, you'll actually come to the final bridge where you fight the real Bowser. Jump over his head and hit the axe and enjoy the short ending to Mario 2. After playing the game all the way through without using any warps, you make it to 9-1, and you only have one life to do these levels in. These are 4 extra bonus levels, and of course, they're going to be really tough to get through. After going through this pipe, you'll end up being in a really weird colored level. It's actually underwater even though you're in a big open area, and there's all the normal land enemies, including piranha plants, Koopa Troopas, as well as Lakitus. While swimming over this area, be sure to watch out for the hammer brother that's going to be throwing some hammers at you. Then swim over here and you'll actually make it to a flag to complete the level. "9-2 is another underwater level, and it starts off with a big open area below, so be very careful you don't go down too far. You'll also have to watch out for the Lakitu consistently firing at you. The level ends up being a little bit easier than 9-1, and after you make it to the end, you'll hit yourself another flagpole and complete the stage. "9-3 is actually an outside castle. As you can see, the platforms and all we're using are from the castle stages, though we're in an outside background. Be sure to hit this block and then climb up the vine to go to another little secret area. After collecting some coins, drop down the big gap and you'll continue on in the normal level. Run along the very top here, continuing along. You'll end up running into one of those Bowsers, but this time it's in a very small area, and unless you can have a really special time jump or have the Fire Flower, it's really almost impossible to get past them without getting hit. Once you do get past them, however, hit the flag and move on to 9-4. "9-4 is a very short underwater level. Just swim along the top and eventually you'll come to some Japanese characters. In case you're wondering, the Japanese characters do spell out arigato, which means thank you in Japanese. After you hit the flag on the right though, it will end up going back to 9-1 and they'll actually keep looping until you lose your life. There are 4 special worlds to unlock in the game, but in order to do so, you actually have to complete the game 8 times. Every time you complete the game and go back to the start menu, a new star will appear on the title screen. Once you have all 8 of them on the title screen, you can press A and start instead of just normal start in order to actually go to the special worlds, worlds A through D. However, with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.